Welcome back. Our next guest is standing by. Kimberly Foss is joining us to talk money. Hi, Kimberly. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Well, let's get right to it. You have a lot of the answers that folks have surrounding money and managing their money and finances. Someone's saying, I've been laid off and I'm worried about making my house payment. What can I do?
Yeah, so the government has still, under the CARES Act, two provisions. One is a moratorium on foreclosures. So that means that the banks can't come out and try to repossess your house or take it away. So there's a short-term moratorium on that, as well as a temporary foreclosure or suspension on forbearance, which means they can temporarily stop your payment for a specific period of time. So if you're having difficulty paying your mortgage, make sure you reach out to your lender and ask them the details of what programs they have. There's still a lot of programs out there for help, so don't hesitate, reach out.
And when we talk about small businesses, a lot of them just hanging in there, and some of them are still looking for help. When we talk about the CARES Act, how can that help them?
Sure, there is a CARES Act. So the PPP, the second round on April 27th that came out, you know, there's still funding available. It's $125 million of funding still available. So if you haven't applied for that, go to your banking relationship and ask to put in your application and apply for that, because that money is about 75% of that is going to be forgiven if it goes towards your employees or your rent or your utilities. So that's great. There's also disaster loans out there as well from the SBA, and there are grants up to $10,000, free money, Aubrey, that small businesses can apply for on the SBA and still available. So don't hesitate to go out to your banking relationships or look on the SBA website.
Yeah, that's good information. It is not too late if they need some help. They just need to go through the steps to get that done. We keep talking about stimulus packages, and the House just passed a new stimulus package. How can it help?
Well, it's hope if it does get passed by the Senate, and that's the thing, it's probably not going to, so this may not be there, but there's other stimulus that's in there, especially for all of us or for most people, which would be helpful, is another $1,200 of stimulus that would come to everybody, just like we had that about a month ago. So, but again, this has to pass through the Senate, so we'll just have to wait and see on it. It's about $3 trillion that they're looking to inject back into the economy as well, if needed.
Right, and Kimberly, you know, you're the money person here. You crunch the numbers. You're paying attention to the markets and everything that's going on. How badly would you say the pandemic has hurt the U.S. economy so far?
Well, you know, it has. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we have 14% unemployment right now. We've had contracted. So the economy has contracted. We've had a negative first quarter. You know, typically a recession is 2 quarters of negative numbers. But to that said, you know, as we're starting to reopen, it looks like, you know, Placer County is we are reopened. We're in stage 2. There's rumors out there like, you know, other counties are going to be reopening. That, as fast as we've gone down, Aubrey, we can come back up again. So I would say that we're probably going to have 2 quarters of negative, but by the end of the year, we may have a positive GDP by the end of the year.
And I think part of that is staying positive. Can you talk about what the Fed is doing to aid this recovery that we're hoping for?
Sure. So Jerome Powell, which is the Federal Reserve Chairman, has said, and he's just gone out as of yesterday, that look, the Feds are not just going to, you know, be able to, you know, issue stimulus out there to folks, but they'll do everything else. They'll buy back securities. They'll buy back, you know, basically one of the big things is buy back junk bonds or high yield bonds. So they're going to do everything, and they still have said that there are tools in their tool chest that they can still use to help stimulate the economy. And I really think this is important, Aubrey, because we've learned from 2008, 2009, and they have injected so much liquidity, and I do have to give them credit where credit is due. They got money in the hands of people, of small businesses and individuals that needed it. We didn't shut down the credit markets, which was great. We didn't freeze just like we did in 2008. So it's been a really, really good job. And it's good to hear that they have more tools in their tool chest that they're ready to basically implement if needed.
You mentioned, you know, some of the reopenings that are going to obviously aid in recovery. Do you see any risks of reopening the economy from your perspective?
Well, the risk is really from a health perspective, and I'm not a doctor, but we know what the health perspective, the health risks are in reopening. So that's why I think it's really important that each county and each state really has some mandated rules, which that's what they're uncovering, right? If certain amount of cases are reported in a two-week period, you got to stay in that stage. So that's really important. If we open too quickly and the pandemic comes, or the virus does rear its ugly head again, that could be devastating for the economy. But I really think that we're doing it smart and we're doing it safely, and I think this is going to be a good thing for the economy, especially going over the summer.
Kimberly, do you think that as the economy reopens, do you think that stock market recovery is going to correlate with that?
I do. And the one thing that we know is the stock market is usually 6 months ahead. It's always trying to look ahead, always trying to take in the data today and project that ahead. And yesterday, the market was up 912 points. So it was phenomenal. And right now it's positive as well. So we had 2 days in a row that would be positive. That would be a really, really good sign that the economy is well on its way to recovery. And again, as sharp as it was coming down, I don't think it's going to go sharply straight back up. That's called a V-shaped recovery. But I do think that we're going to have a much more positive trajectory as we open up the economies, as we get people back to work, and as we get monies back into the economy, because 70% of our GDP is basically consumerism.
All right, Kimberly Foss with Empyrean Wealth Management. It's always great to hear your advice and insight when it comes to money and finances. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.
You too.
This interview involves commercial content. The products and services featured appear as paid advertising.